I got diagnosed with PMDD, which for people who don't know is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I would have intense waves of depression every cycle. And so for a long time, I thought like, well, I can't be a mother if this is how I'm going to behave. Like, that's not fair. I wouldn't be a good mother. And whatever phase or age they're at, there's going to be a hardship. And am I ready to be their biggest support? And that was, I think, my biggest question I wasn't sure about. I started my period pretty young. I was like in third grade, I think. So I was like 10. And my parents said like I always had a little bit of like some moody PMS. They could kind of like I'd snap at somebody and then they'd see like pads rolled up in the garbage. And they're like, okay. So like I had always had a little bit of some ups and downs. And then when I was a very active athlete through middle school and high school, and that plays a huge role in how you're processing and letting your hormones move in a certain way and decreasing stress and all of that. And so when I got into college and I was much less active, I started having really bad mood swings as well. And like, I think back, I didn't know what they were back then, but looking back, I would say like pretty close to like some anxiety attacks. So that was the first time I got on birth control, and that helped a lot. And then I was like smooth sailing. And then after college, I was getting ready to travel, and I didn't want to have to mess with pills and ordering them and having them shipped. And so I looked into IUDs for the first time and got one. And at first I was like, cool, this is great. And then within like 2 to 3 months, I had stopped having a period altogether, which made it incredibly hard for the next 3 years to track what was going on with my moods, because I wasn't associating it with like, oh, this really bad episode happened and then 2 days later I started my period or anything like that. So I thought I was bipolar. There were times where I was like, I'm actually like I'm clinically unwell and I need to be somewhere safe. And I was with a boyfriend at the time who was doing all this research and trying to figure out what was going on. And he was the first one who came up with this idea of PMDD. And we did some deep dives and Reddit threads, and I was having extreme paranoia. So I was even trying to go to doctors where I was living, and I would get to the parking lot and then freeze and couldn't go in. And I was like, this is crazy. Like this isn't sustainable. And so I ended up coming back to the US and getting my IUD removed. And I went in and told them what was going on. And they said all of these like mental things that I was going through was probably because I was in an unhealthy relationship and it had nothing to do with the IUD, and they wouldn't take it out. And then I was like back in the lobby sobbing, and my mom had to go in there and like we had to like resaddle up, and she was like, take it out now. And thank goodness I had an advocate who could speak for me, because I was like, yeah, probably I don't know what's real anymore. And so that experience alone, kids were nowhere on my mind. And I was like, and I'm unfit. I'm barely fit enough to keep myself alive. There's no way I could take care of anyone else. Um, and yeah, and that was a wild experience. And then getting like moving on from the IUD was also a roller coaster for several years. So a lot of it was just like, I'm just trying to like make it. And I didn't have to help somebody else survive. I just got to take care of myself. And that might feel really selfish to some people, but I also feel like kids, I think, gets to be, I don't want to use the word reward, but that's what's coming to mind, like the reward of like you have taken care of yourself so well, and you've surrounded yourself with community. And if the moment comes that you would like to try and you're gifted that opportunity, then that's the reward. But it's not always, doesn't always, it's more of an obligation and an expectation. And I think that's where we get into a lot of trouble.